Welcome back to Self-Dom Beautiful Humans. This is a safe place to learn and get inspired to live your healthiest and most fulfilling life. Just a little reminder at the start of this episode that if you haven't clicked the follow button, it would really mean the world to me if you pause this episode and follow and subscribe to Self-Dom. This is my greatest passion, and I truly want to make this pod as good as I possibly can for you all. You're such a nice, calm energy to be around. For such a tall bloke, you're so calming and relaxing.
Well, I'd be worried if it was the opposite. Being a meditation teacher and all that, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I should change my career.
Yeah, no.
You're so frantic, Luke.
Yeah, you're a bit agitated. Today's guest is Luke Mcleod. Luke is one of Australia's most popular thought leaders and practitioners in mindfulness and meditation. Luke has been practicing for over 2 decades now, and he specialises in helping others deal with anxiety, overwhelm, and emotional distress through meditation. Luke is the founder of the Mindful Life app, Soul Alive, and the author of his new book, Everyday Enlightenment. Whether you're new to meditating or you're someone who's been practicing for years and years, I know that you're going to gain a lot from this interview. I am so excited for us to learn from Luke because meditation has honestly changed my life, and I'm sure we'll dive into that in the interview today. So Luke, thank you so much for joining me on the pod today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dom. I'm excited for this.
So you've become a real name in the industry and the wellness space here in Oz. And I feel like you've inspired a lot of practitioners. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be proud of that.
Good. I am. Yeah, very proud.
I wanted to dive into today's episode and just kind of understand how you got into meditation. What kind of sparked that in you?
Yeah, the original reason why I got into meditation was to help me with my work. At that time, I was in my early 20s and I was very career focused, as a lot of people are in their early 20s, you know going out to get the dollar. And I was really into researching people who were in the best of their field, whether that was in business or sporting or arts, whatever genre they were in. I was always curious around what made the best the best. And one thing which I found fascinating when I looked at all these people who I admired, a lot of them meditated. And I found that fascinating at the time because back then I thought meditation was something hippies did and lived in Byron Bay and you had a pet goat.
I still think people think that, genuinely.
Well, yeah, it is because it is getting better. I think that stigma is kind of coming down a bit. But back then it was even more so, that perception of it. So I was shocked when I found the likes of Steve Jobs, Muhammad Ali, all of these people who were incredible at what they did. One of the things that they put their secrets or secrets to success down to was that they meditated. And I found that fascinating. So I was like, okay, well, if these people do it, there's got to be something to it. So I almost used it and got into it as a productivity tool to start things off with. And I found it did help me for about 4 or 5 years with my work. I felt more productive. I felt like I was getting more done throughout my day. I felt like I was making clearer decisions. I wasn't procrastinating as much. And I thought, wow, this is a wonderful life hack for productivity. It wasn't until a series of things happened in my personal life that kind of all imploded and in a very short period of time, that I turned to it and it unlocked a lot more of the more spiritual, emotional, deeper side that meditation often gets spoken about. So, yeah, but that was the original reason, was for work.
Yeah.
And it's kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, I find it interesting when you say that, kind of pulled a string in me, because my journey with meditation was, I kind of did it here and there, but it was when shit really hit the fan, I guess, and life was throwing curveballs at me, that I really got into meditation on a deeper level. And I guess for me, it really was a silver lining to all of it, because it allowed me to focus on a practice in such a genuine, authentic, caring way.
Yeah.
So I think even though you started from a productive point of view and now you are where you are now, it seems like it all happened how it was meant to.
Yeah, and in some ways, you're absolutely right. It certainly was a silver lining for me because I think I can relate to a lot more people now because, as you touched on earlier, I think there is still a bit of stigma around meditation, particularly if you are a business person, a go-getter. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to associate myself with that. That's not my vibe. Whereas if you see it from a performance perspective, I think that can resonate with a whole different audience. So I love that was the reason why I got into it, because I can speak and talk to those type of people and say, hey, it's not just all about woo-woo-ness and all this spiritual stuff. It can be, which is wonderful and beautiful, but it doesn't have to be. There's so many other benefits to meditation as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the next question is super important for anyone who's never meditated before. It's just defining meditation. And I think it'd be good if you could define mantra-based meditation and all the different types.
Well, in the book, I roll them up into mainly 3 different types. And I think what's first and foremost really important is that there is so many different types of meditation, which I think a lot of people don't realize. They think that there's just one type of meditation that they get introduced to, and that's what they should do for the rest of their lives. And one thing I'm trying to do with the book is to really try to get the message out there that there's so many different types and they all serve a different purpose. It's kind of similar to physical exercise, depending on where you're at in life, what you're going through, what you enjoy doing, what you're struggling with. If you've got any injuries, there's certain physical exercises that are more appropriate for you to do in that situation, right? Meditation's the same. So there's so many different types. But coming back to how I define it and sort of summarize it is there's 3, I put them in 3 main categories. There's a relief type of meditation, there's a healing type of meditation, and then there's happiness types of meditation. And depending, as I said, on where you're at, what you're going through in your life, I would guide someone down to using a type of meditation within one of those categories. So, for example, mantra-based meditation or Vedic type of meditation, I would fit that underneath a relief category, because what it's doing is it's just very much giving you some peace and calmness within the head. It quietens all the noise. It just puts you in a state of just relaxation, which is so important and essential. Then once you feel comfortable and are able to use meditation in that manner, then I would then recommend going exploring some type of healing meditation, which is probably more associated with guided meditations, where you're listening to someone and they're guiding you through a particular type of visualization or an experience or some type of bodily sensation or emotional connection within. They're guiding you through and helping you, or you're guiding yourself through and helping yourself through something. And then the last one is where you're using meditation as a way of being able to connect and enjoy life and feelings of euphoria and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's news. That's new and exciting for me because I'm someone who does mantra meditation, sometimes guided meditation, but I never linked it to a word like healing or relief or anything like that. I kind of did an Ayurvedic meditation course and then that's what I stuck to. So I like also the linkage to exercising. I'm someone who mixes up my training. I feel like I would be missing out if I wasn't doing that. And now I'm like, I'm missing out because I'm not doing the other types of meditation. So I'm really excited to have a play on the app and suss it all out too.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up a study, and I always bring it up on the pod, but it's just such a good one. They had participants sit by themselves for 15 minutes. So they found that 67% of the male participants would rather give themselves an electric shock then sit by themselves for 15 minutes, and 25% of women.
Wait, how many for the men?
So 67% of men would rather be electrically shocked than sit by themselves for 15 minutes in silence.
Right.
Yeah. So this just suggests how much we hate being alone in our heads.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a lot to say in terms of men as well. Do you think it's more prevalent for men to not want to sit alone with their thoughts than women? Do you find that in your work?
Yeah, I think it's certainly more difficult just through, I think, and it's a generalisation, but men talking about or dealing with their emotions, just if we're going off history, doesn't come as natural as, say, females exploring those things. So that does make sense to me that, yeah, 70% is higher than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and how much was it? Was it females?
25.
Okay, right.
It's still a quarter.
Yeah,
Still a lot.
it's interesting. Yeah, it's. I wonder if like the males is also a side of
Masculinity.
well, something to like that constant need for stimulation.
Yeah.
You know, like they need to like
Well,
they feel like they're in control. So they're like, well, how dare you tell me I'm going to sit still for like 15 minutes?
True. And like
Type of
curiosity of like, what's going to happen if I press this button?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a bit of sense of ego coming into
Yeah.
it all. So yeah, come at me type of thing.
Come
so
at me.
yeah, but it is certainly something that we're not used to if we were to look at it from a point of view of dealing with our own emotions. Mm-hmm. It's hard, it's difficult, it's confronting. No one really wants to do it. But one thing I certainly know for sure is if something feels like it's telling you or it's difficult for you to do or to confront, that's a clear indicator that you need to go and sort that out or confront it.
Well, I love that. And I think it kind of works onto the next question, which was if someone was new to meditation and they do have that inkling and that feeling, like what would be your first steps to guide them, or what would you tell them to start with if they're new to meditation?
I think what's really important is first understanding who they are and where they're at in their life. And once I understand that, what they're going through and why they're wanting to do meditation, that's so important first and foremost, because that then gives me an insight to go, okay, well, here's the type of meditation that I would prescribe for you in this instance, rather than just saying, oh, try this. Yeah, getting a good understanding as to where they're at in their life, who they are, how they best process information. That's really, really important part as well. Like, again, coming back to physical exercise, if I was a personal trainer and you came to me and was just like, I want to get fit, I would want to know more about if you've got any injuries, what type of exercises you don't like, what do you enjoy doing? And then I would craft a training program that would be tailored and suited to you, right? And I think that's very similar for meditation. Understanding the person, or if it's just yourself, it's just asking yourself some questions. It's like, okay, where am I at in life? What am I wanting from meditation? And I think this is why a lot of people don't stick with meditation, or they might try it and they get frustrated with it, is because they probably haven't been introduced, or they're not trying the right type for where they're at in their life, which is a real shame, because I know that happens a lot out there, that people get frustrated with meditation, or they don't know how to do it, or they're just like, nah, it's not for me type of thing. And I'm just like, oh, if you just tried this type, I'd be really confident that it would really help you out with where you're at in your life. So first and foremost, understanding that. And then there's a couple of other little tips, is to try and treat it not like a chore, but a choice.
I love
if that makes sense. So in other words, like, find the joy in the practice if you can. No one likes to do chores. So if you're treating it like something like, oh, I've got to meditate, and you're like, oh, I didn't do my 20 minutes today, and you beat yourself up, you're not going to stick with it, right? I love meditating. It's something I enjoy doing. I can't wait to do. It's kind of like my favorite meal. I look forward to it. I can't wait to meditate again. And just that shift in how you approach it and how you see it can make a really big difference in what you get out of it. So I think that's a really easy but big tip for someone who's starting out. The last tip I would suggest is to, again, this is easier said than done, but try to let go of what you're wanting it to do for you. Which almost sounds
no, but that's that
so
whole
odd.
But it's that quote, like not focusing on the destination, just the journey. Like it's so cliche, but you just need to like be present in that moment, like not think too much of it.
Yeah, just let go.
Yeah.
And it's so foreign for us as humans to do that because we always have an expectation for almost anything and everything we do in our lives, right? It's like, I do this, I get that. And like
we're rewards based.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meditation works in the reverse order of that. It's a process of surrendering, not achieving. And the paradox is you achieve by surrendering.
Yeah.
Right? So once you're on your mat or on your couch or you're laying down in your bed, just what I like to say to myself is wipe the slate clean. Treat this time or this session like you've never meditated before, even if you've meditated thousands of times before. Or if it's your first time, just try to let go of what you're wanting it to do for you and just enjoy the process. Yeah. Let it take you wherever it needs to take you. And trust in the present moment. It knows what it's doing. It will look after you.
Yeah.
All right? So they would be my big tips for someone starting out.
Yeah, and a few things came into my mind when you were speaking. And just as you were saying with meditation, it's like it shouldn't be a chore, it should be a choice. And what I thought about was at the start of my fitness journey, you didn't ever want to go to that Pilates class or that yoga class. Like you did dread it. But the more you do it, then it becomes the highlight of your day. And that's a physical. But with the mental, it's the exact same. You start off and you don't want to do it. But the more you do it, the more you love it. And I'm the same. Like I got on the plane this morning. I came back from Byron this morning and I was so excited to meditate on the plane. Like put my insight timer on and I enjoy it. And, another thing as well is removing the expectation of you have to meditate in your meditation spot in your house with your incense on and your candles on. It's like you can meditate anywhere.
100%.
When I first started my meditation journey, I would do it when I finished work in the car. That was my, didn't matter how noisy or anything, I needed to do it because then I showed up kinder to my family, to my friends, whoever I was seeing after. That really worked for me. But it was removing this expectation that I had to always be in nature or, somewhere super
serene place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on one thing, kind of backtracking on the question if you were new to meditation.
Yeah.
If someone was completely new, didn't know where to start, and, there's so much stuff on social media. It can be quite overwhelming, to say the least. If someone just wanted to give a 5-minute meditation a go and you could tell them something now, was there something they could look up? Do you have a mantra they could try or?
Yeah, download the Solar Live app.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, exactly. And it's all there.
Yeah. No, YouTube's also a wonderful resource.
So you would say do a guided meditation rather than follow your breath or something like that.
I think so. I think if it's your very first time, having someone guide you through the practice certainly helps. So yeah, I would probably go for some type of body scan, quick 5-minute body scan meditation.
And they're on your app. Can they just type in
5
minute?
Yeah, you can organise, you can search by category or you can search by time on how long you want to meditate for. And but I would recommend a 5-minute body scan meditation. So Google that and see what pops up or download Solar Life.
Amazing. And I guess also it's that thing that people are like, I'm too busy. It's like everyone has 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Everybody has 5 minutes. Go look at your screen time, see how long you're on Instagram, take 5 minutes. You have time. So that's a great tip. The 5-minute body scan, give it a go, and we'd love to see your thoughts. So definitely share that with us.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, which I always hear in the self-dom community, is whenever I meditate, my mind's going all over the place, my monkey mind, all this. First of all, that's completely normal. And I'm sure yourself, as someone who, is a well-experienced practitioner, your mind would still race. But what would you tell someone who came to you with these worries? How do they stop having this monkey mind?
Well, I think you nailed it, is that first and foremost, it's acknowledging that it's completely normal. And
Oh my God, my mind at all times is like flooding with thoughts.
That's its job.
Yeah.
Right. It's there to do that. It's a thinking machine. So first and foremost, it's acknowledging that that is completely normal and in fact necessary.
Yeah.
Right. If it's not thinking, then there's a problem.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. So the way that I like to see what or describe what meditation does to the whole monkey mind thought thing is it doesn't necessarily quieten or stop your thoughts. It just shifts the mind into a different gear. In other words, like by taking, say, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just do a guided meditation, you'll be able to shift the mind into what I call the neutral gear. And in that space is just naturally quiet. So if you follow the process and if you enjoy it and let go of what you're wanting it to do for you, then just trust the process. The quietening of the mind will naturally happen. You don't have to try to force it or expect it to do something. Just follow the process and it will shift into that neutral gear automatically. So yeah, but acknowledging it first and foremost, that's completely natural. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah.
The other thing I would suggest is you can almost have fun with it. Make a bit of a game of it. And what I mean by that is what I like to do for myself is catching the wandering mind when I'm meditating. It's a bit of a game I play. What that means is every time I notice that my mind has wandered off, I see that as a celebration, not as a criticism. Because that moment of when you notice that you've wandered off is actually a moment of awareness.
Yeah.
And that is the whole point of meditation. So rather than beating yourself up and thinking like, oh, I can't get my mind to be quiet or it keeps wandering off, every time you notice that it does that, actually celebrate.
Bank your win.
Bank your wins.
Yeah.
Or what I like to call it's called counting your reps. It's like the brain doing a bicep curl. The more times you catch yourself wandering off, the more reps the brain is doing, the stronger it's becoming, the more you're training it to be more present and aware. It takes time, it takes practice, and enjoy the process. It'll happen.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because sometimes when I haven't been meditating a lot and then I get back into it, those first few, it's like, oh my God, how long was I thinking for? Was it like the whole meditation? And then when I'm really into my practice, it's like I catch it out a lot faster and it reminds me of why the meditation journey and experience is so important, because it's not just in your meditation that you notice. It's like when I'm with friends and I hear just recent example, people speaking about other people, I don't join in because I'm aware straight away that it's not the right thing to do. I feel like when I said at the start that meditation has changed my life, it's given me awareness. That's a word that is strong in my mind. I have awareness of how to speak to others. I have awareness of what is right and wrong and how to be kind and what truly matters. And yeah, I think if I was going to tell someone my biggest reason that you should start meditating is awareness.
Yeah. And
we're walking blind without it, really.
It's so true. It unlocks that level of observation and awareness, not only about yourself, but your environment and everyone around you. You're so true in saying that. And I agree with you in the fact that it's probably the biggest benefit of meditation is how it unlocks your own personal level of awareness, whether that is about yourself, your environment, or other people. And by doing that, life changes. Everything becomes exposed about yourself, and that's liberating, and it's also empowering. So
and it's
I love that you said that.
It's a whole nother almost episode is talking about when you become aware and the people in your life that you kind of used to look up to, you might not anymore. Or the way you used to view a job that you're in, you don't view it like that anymore. And it completely it does a 180 to your life if you commit to it. But it's going to do it for the better. And you're going to just be so happy that you stuck to it and that you see the world for what it is rather than being blind.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there will certainly be times where it will be really confronting and you'll feel quite vulnerable and exposed because you are pulling back the layers on yourself. You're observing yourself, warts and all, and you're like, oh, geez, I don't really like that, or what's going on there? And that can be really difficult and very confronting. So it's not this serene, magical, beautiful journey. There certainly are moments of that where you just kind of feel that connection and oneness with all and like, wow. But that generally doesn't happen until you have dealt with and exposed all of these other things that need to be dealt with and using meditation for that. So I think it's important to touch on that and to let people know that it's not all going to be like, roses and all good. There's going to be times where it's going to feel quite confronting and difficult, but trust in the present moment.
Yeah.
Right. You're in a safe space when you're sitting down, you're just closing your eyes. You're only dealing with what's going on within and within here. And although it might seem really scary, it's all good.
Yeah.
Just take your time, breathe.
Yeah.
And go and explore.
And with the awareness as well, it kind of made me realize we spend so much of our time thinking about the past, about the future. Yeah. Majority of the time is thinking about the past and the future, but we can't change any of that. So it's once you get that awareness, you're like, I don't want to use my energy on that. And I think that's where the productivity really comes in, because you're like, I'm not going to waste my time doing that. I'm going to focus on the present moment. And that is where you excel. Yeah. It truly is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important that we have the ability to be able to think and plan about the future and think about what happened in the past. Yeah. I think that's a really important function of the brain. But what I have seen and also experienced with myself is that we get the balance way out of whack. So we spend way too much time in that thinking mode, whether it's about the past or what might happen in the future. Like 95% of our day is caught up in here. So it's just kind of realigning the balance a little bit more. Yeah. Spending a bit more time connected with the here and now. And then, great, once you've done that, you've refreshed the mind, you feel connected here and present, then go off and think for a bit. Yeah. It's okay. And then come back to the moment.
Of course.
So,
you specialise in stress. Is that one of your specialisations?
Well, I think meditation can unlock so many different ways on how to help you deal with things. Stress is a really big one that a lot of people are struggling with, and that I have certainly struggled with at different points throughout my life. So, yeah, meditation is certainly an option, a really good option that people should explore to help them deal with their stress. And I try to help people do that.
So do you do one-on-one coaching with the meditation, or more through your book and the app?
I do a little bit, not as much now. Yeah. But I still enjoy it, absolutely. When I catch up with just a one-on-one individual, you can really go deep, and I love actually watching or meditating with someone and seeing what they experience, because it's very an individual experience. I had a client the other day, and I was guiding him through a meditation, and he was telling me things that I had never experienced in my meditation practice before. And I was like, wow, you're experiencing that, and I've been meditating for 20 or so years, and you're experiencing something that I've never experienced. And I just found that fascinating and really, really cool. So, yeah, I certainly do still enjoy doing one-on-one sessions. I don't do as much because we've got the app and the book and caught up with other things, but still love doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that because when I did my Ayurvedic meditation course, we would all do a meditation together and then sit in a circle and talk about our experience with it. And people were saying this was when I first started, so I never meditated before. People were seeing colors and like feeling stuff on their body, and I was like, I want to like that inspired me to keep going. Not even for all these other benefits we've spoken about. Like this was my first time ever meditating. I was like, I want to see colors, and I was like, this is a full
Yeah.
experience. So yeah, I really love the idea of group meditation. And I mean, I live in Bondi. In the morning, there is so many group meditations happening on the beach. I feel like it's becoming
awesome.
super mainstream, and I'm so happy about that. And even though, it can be super overwhelming that it's all over your socials, you don't know where to start. I think people like Luke and having access to these apps and books, it's a really great place for you to learn. Like
Yes.
we have access to so much information, so much knowledge at our fingertips. If you do it correctly, it's unreal.
It is.
Super special.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like having the fact that there's so many groups down at Bondi Beach meditating each morning
It's insane.
is amazing.
It's the busiest the beach is 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Like it's busier than now.
Yeah. A word of caution though with that is you can also get caught up in the hype of it.
Yeah.
Right? Which defeats the purpose of it. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah.
And it's a practice for yourself and enjoy the journey, let go, and everything will work out fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you what your morning routine or night routine or both look like. Where does meditation sit in your day?
For me, as I touched on earlier, it's something that I love doing. I look forward to doing. The daily meditation practice changes depending on how I'm feeling. So in the morning after I've gotten up and patted my dog and grabbed a coffee and I'll sit down and I'll just ask myself a few questions. How am I feeling? Where am I at? What's going on up in here? And then that will then give me an indication of what type of meditation I should practice. So it varies a lot. And that seems to work for me. And I think because, I've been doing it for a long time. So I've got a pretty vast...
You've got a toolkit ready to go.
toolkit to kind of choose from. So, yeah, that's a slight advantage. But, yeah, there's so many different types. In the morning, though, I generally like to start, if I was to be a little bit more directive with what I do, in the mornings I generally like to do a little bit more of an energizing type of meditation, whether that's a visualization combined with a body scan. I'll also usually align it with a breathing exercise, some gentle stretching, get the mind, the body working as one. And then middle of the day, I might do a quick mindfulness exercise where I'm just tuning in with my environment, which I love to just kind of quickly reset and reflush the mind. And then at night, I would generally do a more relaxing, winding down type of meditation, getting ready for bed. So, yeah.
Well, that inspires me to make my toolkit more expansive and have all these different options.
Yeah. And then, like you're familiar with Vedic type of meditation, mantra-based meditation. That's I see Vedic meditation as a wonderful gateway into stepping through into a lot of other different types of meditation, because it does the first job of meditation really, really well. In what I mean by that is being able to just quieten the mind, to stop that sort of busyness going on up in here. Mantra-based meditation is wonderful for that. So one thing I would recommend for you is do 10 minutes of your mantra-based meditation, whatever it is, and then 10 minutes of some type of guided meditation. So that could be a body scan, it could be a Vipassana, Kundalini, expansion of senses, gratitude, so many different types. Tap that onto the back of your mantra-based meditation and go and explore that.
Yeah.
And I reckon it would unlock some pretty cool stuff.
I'm excited. I wanted to talk about the mind-body connection. Have you found that, 'cause as you were saying, when you were in your early 20s and you were finding meditation from a productivity standpoint, were you quite fit and active at that point? Like in terms of
Yeah.
going to the gym and things like that? So
Yeah.
how have you found becoming more aware of the mind? Has that had a positive impact on your physical body as well?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think they're one and the same thing, or they all work together, the mind, body, and the spirit, like the Holy Trinity, if you want to call it that, is that they're highly connected. What the mind thinks, the body will follow, and vice versa. Usually
That's why you
do.
can get sick from stress and all that. I don't know. Now that I have
Exactly.
illness in my family, I'm like looking back at my whole life and I'm like, wow, those stresses create illness and disease is dis-ease and all of these things. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, we are just so connected. But no one teaches us this.
That's so true. And vice versa as well. By just not overthinking things too much, getting up and going for a walk, getting up and just not thinking about meditating, just going and doing it, that will then have a positive effect on your mental state. So leading with the body first, doing some type of action without overthinking also has that correlation as well. So yeah, it goes both ways. They both influence each other heavily.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot of people who focus just on the physical, and a big part of why I wanted to create Self-Dom was to highlight that you can't be your best self unless you're working the mind and the spirit as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often say that as well. You can go to the gym as much as you want, but if you don't work out your mind, you're still going to be unhealthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. And I think as well, you as a masculine male figure sharing all this about meditation, I think it's super important. I did mention it before, but I do think that men are a little less likely to give it a go than women. And I think having you at the forefront is so important just as a role model.
Well, I appreciate that. And I can confidently say that meditation has made me more of a man than anything else in my life.
I love that. Put that on a T-shirt.
And you can kind of even geek out of it. Like I remember this study that I came across that they did with meditation and bodybuilders. So you're thinking like really sort of like
Macho
man, the gym junkies. They did a study where they took some bodybuilders, those that just did their workouts, and then those that did their workouts and did 10 minutes of meditation after their workouts. They found that physically the results as far as muscle gain and so forth were so much better from those who meditated than those that didn't. It was almost like hard to compare.
Wow.
And there's heaps of reasons for that. But if we want to get a little bit more scientific, a big one was around how meditation lowers the cortisol levels within the mind. And we know that bringing your cortisol levels down is essential for recovery and within your muscles and within the body. And that is such an essential part if you're training hard. I found that fascinating, how something which is considered so manly, working out at the gym and that gym junkie, how meditation can help that and make that person or that exercise or that culture, whatever you want to call it, perform even better.
Yeah.
So
I'm shocked at that. And I think even for women, I mean, we're all going hard at the gym now, we're all squatting and lifting too. And I think, as you said, like if your initial attraction to something was productivity and now you are where you are, it's okay if your initial attraction to something is because it's going to improve your recovery, because in the end, it's the start of a journey that's only going to be positive, that's only going to be flourish, that's only going to flourish.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So, coming back to the manliness of meditation, as I touched on, I don't think there's anything else that I've done in my life which has made me more of a man than meditation.
I love that. So I always end the podcast with the same question. So I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give your younger self?
Don't sell your property. Yeah. Nah.
It's so funny because you always think it's going to be something really deep, but who was it? My friend Shannon last week, she was like, know how to do your taxes. I was like,
You know what? It's so true though. Like, it's important though. Like to set yourself up.
yes.
And yeah, if I'm being really honest, like be more financial savvy if I'm in my,
I wonder if this will be
younger
a
20s.
trend.
That's, yes, so not related to meditation.
Yeah, I was. You got me there. I was not expecting it, but I think it's so
Yeah.
true. And they don't teach it at school. You're learning like Pythagoras' theorem.
Yeah. If I was to lean more down that more is to don't be so caught up in what other people think. Right. And I see this a lot right now within teenagers. Yeah, I've got a nephew who's 14 and he's so caught up in what his friends and what people think of him and that. And I think social media has played a pretty big role in that comparison of, with others. So, and I remember that when I was a teenager, I was like, always trying to outdo my friends in some way. Like I wasn't sort of like mean about it, but it was just like, yeah, just everything's okay. You're good.
Yeah, I love always to think that there's unlimited success in the world, and if someone else gets a win, it doesn't take away a win from you. And I think it's so important to remind yourself that and to celebrate everyone around you. And I know when you're younger, it's like your heart breaks when you don't get in the footy team or something like that. But, good on them. Be excited for them because it's only going to manifest into good stuff for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Back yourself, trust yourself. It's all good. You got this.
Well, thank you so much for getting on the pod, Luke. You are such a nice, calm energy to be around. For such a tall bloke, you're so calming and relaxing.
Well, I'd be worried if it was the opposite. Being a meditation teacher and all that, I'd be like, maybe I should change my career.
Yeah, no.
You're so frantic, Luke.
Yeah, you're a bit agitated. No, it was really, really lovely. And I've had so many questions about meditation. I feel like you've answered them all. And I definitely think you guys should get the Soul Alive app and the Everyday Enlightenment book here. I have got a copy. I'm going to ask you to sign this.
Yeah, more than happy.
That would be so special.
Sure.
So just a reminder, give the pod a review. It really means so much and can't wait to jump on the next episode. See ya.